Welcome to week 9 of Flourish. You are coming to the end of our 10-week series, and we are driving forward with real intentionality here. We talked about being the light of the world last week, and this week is all about putting some feet to the ground and really living the way we've been talking about. And so we are talking about being in our neighborhoods, living for the glory of Christ in our schools and in our relationships and in our work, and having our words and actions point to Jesus. This week, it's all about missional living.
Yeah. So let's start by just asking this question. Do you see yourself as a missionary? At times we can think, no way, because we're not going overseas, we're not leaving the comforts of America and our hometown. But in all reality, you and I, if we are disciples of Christ, we are missionaries. So I want you to hear the words of Jesus. It says this, "Then Jesus came to them and said, 'All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age.'" So those words are found in Matthew 28, verses 18 through 20. And they aren't just words that were for people 2,000 years ago. Those are words that are said to you and me today in our setting.
Yeah, that's right. That's our purpose right there. It's a call to live with that missional mindset here and now in our everyday life. Not only because this is where God has you, but because God is working here in our neighborhoods, and He has put you here as an ambassador. So it's easy for this to become overwhelming. Let's think small first. I want you to think about, who is your neighbor? So we asked this question in our readings, but as a leader, really, before you meet with your group, think through, who is your neighbor? We have people in our home, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, but how are you neighboring them? When are you overlapping with them? Do you think about if they know the love of Christ or what their life is like at home? Have you gone on your way to build loving relationships with them? Do you even know their names? These are all things that we want you to be thinking about as a leader this week.
Yeah, so we want you to take the first steps in living missionally, and then challenge your life group to do the same. So if you can share stories of how you're being a neighbor who sees the needs around them, then we want you to be able to do that. We are praying that you are generous leaders and you have a generous heart to be doing that in the setting that you're in. You got to remember that Christ was immensely generous with us, and so as we think of that generosity from Him, then we can be generous with those that are just feet from our front door. So who in your life group is doing this? Is it you? Is it somebody else? But I want you to get a glimpse of what could happen if you and your life group start living with intentionality, this missional lifestyle, and you start making an impact on one person in your neighborhood, and then somebody else from your life group does that. All of a sudden, you start seeing that there are hundreds of people in our communities that will be impacted for Christ. Now, I don't know about you, that excites me, and that means that we are a church that is made up of a bunch of missionaries.
Yes, I love that. So as you're going into your questions, I hope you have a really good conversation around it. The first day of questions is a really good starting point to go through all of those. And then we have day 2 was our spiritual discipline. I don't know if you did this.
Yeah.
It's looking at your neighborhood. And I know the first time I did it, it was rough naming different people, like the kind of dog, what's his name?
Right.
So talk about that. If they didn't do it, go ahead and give people time to do it, because it can be really eye-opening to know exactly how well you know your neighborhood. And after that, day 3 has some really excellent questions, but focus on just 1, 2, and 4, and then go right into day 4 and focus on questions 2 and 3, because we really want to encourage people in our groups to take those steps of obedience with God in this missional lifestyle.
Yeah. We also love this week because at the end of the week, there are a bunch of additional resources.
Mhm.
So if nobody's taken a look at them in your group, then take some time to do that. Have everybody pull out their phone. There's some QR codes that you can scan that will take you to different resources that you can do on your own, you could do as a group. You could even bring your kids in if you have kids and think through some of those resources and how we can be really intentional to be just these homes that are living on mission for Christ. So you might want to bring those into your discussion. But like always, Melissa and I are here. We would love to help you with any of that. If you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out to us or to Joel Duncan in our local office, and we would love to have more conversations of how you can live missionally where you're at. So all that to say, we will see you next week for the last week of Flourish, week 10. Have a great week.